A very good evening, all. I'm Aditi Lamba with the Tuesday night edition of South Asian News, Vision of Asia. We are coming to you from our studio in New York City. Welcome to the show. Let's begin the episode taking a look at the coronavirus pandemic and its impact. The world is at 194 million cases of COVID-19, with now more than 4 million deaths. The World Health Organization has said that around 1 in 10 COVID-19 patients are still unwell 12 weeks after their acute infection, and many suffer for far longer and are called long haulers. Here in the United States, we're at more than 34 million COVID-19 cases and at least 611,000 deaths. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention today announced revised mask guidance, recommending that fully vaccinated Americans wear masks indoors in some instances, as the more highly transmissible Delta variant of the coronavirus has led to a surge in infections. The CDC also recommended all students and teachers at kindergarten through 12th grade wear masks regardless of their vaccination status. In politics, the House Select Committee charged with investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection held its first public hearing today, with testimonies from 4 police officers on the front line from that day. More on this, an exclusive Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, is on the show tonight. Let's now take a look at the headlines coming in. House Select Committee holds first public hearing on January 6th insurrection. Veteran journalist Rohit Vyas, New Jersey. Curtain raiser and press conference for 4th biggest Ganesh Utsav in New York. ITV Gold exclusive featuring Democratic nominee for New York City Mayor, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia South Asian News segment. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia, Tuesday night episode of South Asian News. In politics and more, the House Select Committee that is investigating the Capitol insurrection held its first hearing today with testimonies from 4 police officers who were on the front lines the day of the attack. The very chilling testimonies also saw never-before-seen videos of the attacks while the officers described the violent events. The testimonies including statements such as one of the police officers being called the N-word while protecting the Capitol and the lawmakers that were inside. Another police officer stated that the rioters tortured him and beat him. Other officers said they wanted to know what led to the insurrection and who is to be blamed. Capitol Police Chief Tom Menger applauded these 4 officers for their honesty and said that these officers fought like hell to preserve our democracy and that they are heroes. On this and much more, we spoke to ITV Gold's political commentator, veteran journalist Rohit Vyas. Here is Mr. Vyas. One of the biggest political news was the hearing that we just saw for the Capitol riot that took place on January 6th, the insurrection. There were testimonies by officers who were attacked and suffered during that Capitol riot by Trump rioters. So my first question to you is, how did it make you feel when one of the officers said that he was called the N-word while he was in uniform, while trying to defend the Capitol and the lawmakers in there? Another said, they tortured me, they beat me. What does that make you feel like when you're listening to that?
As I said, this is the testimony of people who are telling all of America that this was an assault on the heart of democracy. It's something we've discussed many times, you and I, and they are giving testimony to say exactly that. These are police officers sworn to protect the Capitol. These are officers sworn to uphold their badge, the honor of their badge, and for what they are serving. That's what they're there for. And they did exactly that with stellar outcome, but albeit almost tragic in some cases, and brutal in their cases, where they had to endure the ignorant hurling of abuse and slurs from that mob. And appropriately, they call the mob terrorists. These officers address them as terrorists, which is exactly the label they should be described with, because that's what they were doing, engaging in terrorism against democracy. The testimony already, the summary of each one's statements was chilling, to say the least. They got emotional. The very first officer who testified got extremely emotional, having said that he had sworn his oath to the American flag, taken the oath to protect, to serve and protect. He was an army officer. He's now a police officer, a Capitol police officer, and things like that. It was just gripping testimony. And then when you saw that video, all the video being replayed, and you realize the actual horror these folks had to suffer. Bear spray. You could see that cloud of orange coming out of this can, and that's bear spray to neutralize a bear, literally. That's the kind of stuff that was used. These were chemical weapons literally being used against police officers. So this was by no means a small attack or a small insurrection. This was a major, major act of terrorism, and it's great it's coming out there in the open.
Do you think they'll be able to actually figure out and, produce facts or find facts actually that would explain the fact that this was a planned insurrection?
It was becoming quite evident already from what you could see on the video itself. The more they replay it, the more you realize this was not something that was spontaneous, but it had to be orchestrated, because there were exchanges of commands, there were voice commands within the insurrectionists, the terrorists. You could hear them telling somebody, okay, this is what's happening, and let's go this way, etc. All of that is recorded. It's amazing, the intelligence gathering on this situation and what was played out in the hearings on Capitol Hill today. It was totally gripping, mind-blowing, to say the very least, of how it had to be, obviously, an organized event. This was not something that was just something that happened all of a sudden. Everybody went amok and decided, okay, we're going to storm the Capitol. No, it looked pretty much like it was orchestrated.
Right. What do you have to say about Representative Liz Cheney and Representative Adam Kinzinger, the only two Republicans that are sitting on the committee for a Capitol hearing? They were asked a lot of questions even after the hearing was done. We're hearing that the Republican Party might strip off some of the committee duties from them. What do you have to say about this whole situation? And do you think these people are sort of self-sabotaging by being on this committee?
I think they're very honorable individuals. I mean, I listened to Liz Cheney's comments, excellent comments. The same with Representative Adam Kinzinger, who is an avowed Republican, but he's also sworn his oath to protect the Constitution. And that was the key, where both these people said this is nothing partisan. There's nothing partisan about this. This was an attack on all of us, Republican and Democratic. And we heard the testimony from one of the officers, where he talked about how he was protecting all these Democrat Nancy Pelosi, but also the Vice President, Mike Pence at the time. And they were concerned about what would happen to the Vice President, what would happen to Nancy Pelosi, what would happen to both Republicans and Democrats. They didn't care about party affiliation or anything like that. And so Liz Cheney's and Adam Kinzinger's, being on this committee is proof that democracy is still around, whether and they both emphasize the fact that even though we're from one party and the rest are from the other party, it doesn't mean we're going to be taking pot shots at each other. This was a serious occurrence on Capitol Hill. It was a serious affront to the democratic institutions of the United States of America, on which this nation is built, the principles on which the nation is built, and it had to be dealt with accordingly. And they had to get to the bottom of it to figure out who was behind this and what kind of justice to serve to those who did orchestrate this.
Right. Let's now take a look at highlights from recently held curtain raiser and press conference for this year's 4th Ganesh Utsav of New York. The Utsav will be commemorating Ganesh Festival of 2021, one of the most important and auspicious festivals in the Hinduism. The festival, which is celebrated for 10 days, marks the birth of Hindu Lord Ganesha, known for the god of wealth, sciences, knowledge, wisdom, and prosperity. Many devoted Hindus seek the blessings of Lord Ganesha before starting any important work. This Ganesh festival sees several commemorations across the United States, with many Hindus coming together praying for a path to knowledge and wisdom. This upcoming Ganesh Utsav in New York will present a giant sculpture of Hindu god Ganesha for several days in September with many prayers and rituals. At the curtain raiser and press conference, many dignitaries and key members provided some more insight into the upcoming Ganesh Utsav festival at the popular Gujarati Samaj in Fresh Meadows. Here are the highlights.
So thank you for coming today in this event for curtain raiser for 2021 Ganesh Utsav. So we are celebrating this event. This is the fourth year. So September 15 to 19. This time we are doing in open area, which is the ground. I forgot the name. It is a YMCA ground. So YMCA ground पे इस time हम event कर रहे हैं. So I request all of you to support this event. You can support many ways. You can be there, so it is your support. You can play something, it is your support, or you can work for something. You help this event one way or other. So this is all support. So please come forward, support this, talk to your friends, talk to your kids, bring your kids. This is very important because this event we're doing for our future generation. The long back ago, I exactly knew that one day in my car I have a Ganpati and I took it in my office. So the people was laughing. He says, this is your God? This is elephant head God? And they don't even know how we believe them. Because as per my knowledge, what I'm seeing, the Ganesh is a symbol of surgery. On those days, Shankar Bhagavan has done surgery. Today we're doing transplant. Shankar Bhagavan has done Sadiyo Pehle, he has done this surgery. And he put animal head on human being. So it proves that this is all science, we are beyond science. So that we have to teach our kids, our Sanskruti, we have to teach our kids and we have to bring them in our festival. So please try to bring them festival if they like it. Even if they like funny face, bring them. And then you teach them that what is this Ganpati about and why we're doing this occasion. So please, this is my humble request to everybody, talk to your friends. If we send you WhatsApp, pass on to other people. So try to make this event successful. If you are not there, this is not going to happen. So thank you very much for all the invited guests today. I don't want to say name, but thank you again and again.
Thank you for your kind words. What I say, I have two big brothers on this stage. It's really an honor for me. And about Sohag ji. Sohag ji is our pillar for our IDP. What she does every day for the community, this is an inspiration for us. We follow their footsteps. For our seniors, what they do every day in the community, that's the inspiration I got from them, and I follow their footsteps. Sohag ji is so much hardworking, honest woman I see. In our IDP, she's working hard, day and night. He said, Deepak ji, don't worry, we are with you, we will do our best what we can do. So it makes us proud, when I'm working with these people. So it's really touched my heart. Thank you, Sohag ji, and I wish you the best for the Ganesh Utsav, and we will do our best too. Thank you. Thank you.
She know how much I love her, and she always be with me, and she is like a very good advisor for me in anywhere, not only just Ganesh Utsav. And if you remember the last time, 2019, when we have a car, in a raffle we have a car. So she helped me, she and Jaiji, they both are helped me to bring the car. There were no doubt, not a one penny we gave it to that car, and they bring it, they take it back. But whoever the winner, we pay the money. But what I'm saying, that kind of she do the support. So big round of applause for Binaji. Thank you. Now we have only one or two dignitaries, and we have a wonderful musical show. So please be with me and just enjoy our musical show. Is like from India. We have a live performance here. Live means on a screen, but it is very good program.
जैसे पहले भी कहा चुका है कि यहाँ पे हर टेबल पे जितने भी भाई और बहन बैठे हुए हैं वो सिर्फ भाई बहन ही नहीं है, अपने एक परिवार के, वो पूरे सब कम्युनिटी के लीडर्स हैं. एंड अगेन वी ऑल आर हियर टू सपोर्ट आवर कम्युनिटी, अपना गणेश उत्सव. एंड उस सब को सपोर्ट के लिए हमारी एक लीडर है, वो है हमारी सुहाग बहन. एंड आई विल से ओनली वन लाइन फॉर सुहाग बहन. शी इज़ सो क्लीन हार्टेड पर्सन. जो उसके दिल में होता है वो उसकी ज़ुबान पे आता है, बट इट नेवर अगेन टू हार्म, और किसी को दिल दुखाने के लिए नहीं होता है. शी डज फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. So again, Suhag Bain, thank you so much. Whatever you do for all of us, you are the best for our community. And again, thank you.
Actually, when we were planning for the first time Ganesh Utsav festival, I think Suhag ji reached out to me. I think Prakash ji also remember that we need the police barricade, right, for the crowd control and all. She was trying hard. And you know how the system works. Sometimes it is difficult to get to the right people. And then I introduced to her to the right people, and we were able to get whatever she is looking for it. So what I like about Suhag ji, she is very persistent. Whatever she, वो बोलते हैं ना, जो थाम लेती है वो अचीव करके रहती है. Suhag ji, congratulations. I am just here to get the blessing from Ganesh ji, and we have our own Dr. Bobby Kalote ji. Always, as Jayji said, I like to hear him because he always brings something different perspective that generally we all speak, we praise the politician. He has that courage and power to say what to do, what we need from the political office or politician. And Jayji, thank you. I just want to be part of this event, and I wish you all the best for successful event.
After the break, we bring you an exclusive with Democratic mayoral nominee for New York City, Eric Adams. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon. Welcome back. I'm Aditi Lama, and this is Vision of Asia South Asian news segment. We have now an exclusive featuring New York City's Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. A retired police officer and a former state senator, Mr. Adams is also the Democratic nominee in New York City mayoral election and is projected to win the seat of mayor this coming November. Recently, the borough president indicated that he will evaluate stricter COVID-19 guidelines if the number of cases and deaths keep going up. Number of cases in New York City have currently tripled in the recent weeks as cases across the country have also risen due to the Delta variant, especially in unvaccinated areas or in communities disproportionately impacted by vaccine distribution. On that, Borough President Eric Adams has said that let's be smart and let's be ready to switch what we are doing to keep the city safe. Mr. Adams also said, quote, "No excuses, keep masking up New York City." We spoke to Borough President and New York City Democratic nominee for Mayor Eric Adams on this and much more. Here is a segment of the conversation. The CDC has updated its guidelines for masks. They are saying that in unvaccinated areas or areas where the cases are going up, they are saying they are recommending masks to be worn indoors. They also went ahead and said that when schools open up, they recommend masks for students, teachers, and anybody working there, regardless of their vaccination status. So my first question to you is, how will you handle this new guidance in Brooklyn Borough? And will you be bringing back mask mandates if needed?
Well, I believe and I will continue to say we should follow the science. It's important to look at our amazing, those who flow with information, such as the CDC and your local Department of Health and mental hygiene, like we have here in New York City in the State Department of Health. The combined information that, number one, on the federal level, and then number two, on the local level. Every local municipality should go as more stringent than the CDC if they see the need. I believe I'm going to wear my mask as much as possible out of an abundance of caution, and I will encourage other New Yorkers to do the same.
Right. We are hearing in projections such as we may see again 4,000 deaths per day. If this kind of stuff happens, Borough President, I have to ask you, are there any talks of shutdown right now?
No, that is not part of the conversation right now. And what we are learning now is that, number one, let's be clear. COVID is a formidable opponent. It has shown many different strands, many different forms. There's so much we don't know. And we have to continue to protect and pivot. As COVID pivots and changes, we must pivot. We can't be so compliance to one way of thinking without realizing that this virus is changing, it is altering, and it's doing different things. So we must do the same. And if there's a need, which I don't see that right now, if there's a need to look at modifying some of our behavior, we must be open to do so and understand that. But it appears that we've been doing a great job. We were caught off guard before, but New Yorkers are doing their job and government is doing its job. But we have to vaccinate. We want to continue to encourage people to get the vaccine so that they can get as much protection as possible.
Right. And on these vaccination rates, how are you feeling about the borough as well as New York City? Do you think we've reached enough vaccination, ranges as well? Also, there are a lot of communities of color that are still disproportionately, in fact, affected by vaccine distribution. What do you have to say about that?
We have to be creative and find ways to motivate people to vaccinate. Everything from giving incentives to free Broadway theater tickets to giving away whatever items to just encouraging people based on the health. And then we must get on the ground. I say this over and over again. We should mobilize the census team that we had before, allow them to come back and go to those communities and organizations to encourage people in the language and in the cultural norms that they're used to. And then we must mobilize the credible messengers, our pastors, our Sikh leaders, our imams, our rabbis, all the different groups and organizations, and let them be part of this push to vaccinate based on where people live and how people communicate.
Right. The New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has actually said that public employees must be vaccinated or face weekly testing. This is happening in New York City and California right now. What are your comments on that?
Well, the mayor must make the decision on how to protect and pivot in this city to deal with this virus. I think it's important to also bring in the unions, allow the unions to be part of the conversation because they are the credible messengers for their employees that they represent. And it's always easier when you bring in those who represent the employees to say, here's where we are, give them the information and come together as a partner. I think that announcement would have gone across rather well if the union leaders were standing with the mayor as he made that announcement.
Right. But again, important to see that there are some steps being taken. I have to ask you about schools opening this fall. We know they're going to open in person. There's no other option. The students have to get back to developing in the schools. What do you have to say about the CDC guideline that recommends masks to be worn in the schools regardless of vaccination? How are you looking at it?
I'm going to follow the science. If we're receiving CDC recommendations that our babies should wear masks in schools for their personal protection and also to avoid the spreading of COVID-19, then let's follow the guidance of the CDC. I know it is uncomfortable, and I know many parents are concerned about their children wearing a mask. But we need to really understand the complexity of COVID-19. We don't have the vaccine for younger children. No vaccines have been approved for younger children. And so let's be as cautious as possible. We know masks are doing a great job in preventing the widespread of COVID. And so it's a simple way to do so. Yes, it's an inconvenience. I don't like wearing it all the time also, but it clearly shows how can we slow down the spread of COVID-19.
Well, with this, we wrap up the show for the night. Please send us your suggestions and get your voices and organization on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on our Facebook handle at ITV Gold. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for free access to many of our popular shows. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I'm Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.